Hi, good morning. Welcome to our Trevisa TPO Connect training. I'm just going to give it a few more seconds and to let a few other people join, and then we'll get started. I do want to let you guys know that your mics and cameras are turned off. So if you guys have any questions throughout the training, either write them down or put them in the chat because we will do some Q&As. And if you'll put everything in the chat, we'll go through those questions for you guys. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so welcome to Trevisa Financial. My name is Monique Manaya. I have been in the mortgage industry since 1997. I've been in all arenas from broker, retail, wholesale, but most recently I was the EEP production manager over at the government entity that we're going to be discussing today. So I led operations for the investor tribe. I manage processing, closing, funding, the tribe signers, and title approval. So I definitely have a lot of experience to help guide you, lead you, help you build your business in regard to EEP over here at Trevisa, and I'm excited to work with you all. Norma is your account executive, and she is amazing. She has a lot of experience in mortgage sales and insurance. And so I think the both of us combined, we can definitely make sure that you have your success and your growth in EEP. And then, of course, any issues or questions that you may ever have, we're always, striving to definitely be there for you. So our earned equity program today, it's a structured pathway to homeownership. So I'm going to go over a few of the details, and then that way, if you're not 100% sure, this will give you a little bit of information, but I do an EEP training that you guys could also attend, and it really gets into the in-depths of EEP. So EEP was created and it exists because it expands access to homeownership. Okay. It is designed for non-traditional credit borrowers. So they don't take full legal ownership at closing. They are going to sign a homeownership agreement with the tribe. The tribe's going to take out an FHA loan. And this homeownership agreement has a memorandum that's recorded on title. And this is what gives them their secured interest in the property. Okay. So essentially, like I had just said, we have Tule River, who is going to purchase the home that the home buyer picks out through FHA financing. That FHA financing goes through us. And then the home buyer enters into that homeownership agreement. The borrower occupies the home. They can do anything they want with the home regarding remodeling it, upgrading it, making it their own, everything except for, requiring permits, in which we would need to get Tule River involved in that. But that is doable. It is a possibility. And then their legal title transfer happens later when they can either assume the FHA loan, they can sell the home, or they can pay off the home. So the biggest thing that makes EEP different is there's no shared equity. There's no shared appreciation. The borrower retains 100% market appreciation, and then equity builds immediately, especially in this current market. So our long-term strategy is thinking beyond the transaction. Your borrower is building equity. They're gaining ownership stability. The home buyer can eventually assume the FHA loan, and then you can streamline them down to a lower rate. And so then you retain this relationship and you continue to build and grow your business. So expanding your borrower pool. building the referral relationships with realtors. It really differentiates you in competitive markets. This program is extremely new. And so, starting EEP now, you can really have the opportunity to grow EEP business. And it creates future refinance pipeline for you when they are ready to exit the program and, purchase the home, or not purchase the home, but get the home into their own name. Okay, so we're going to see if there's any questions before I start the actual process flow on how it works. Yes, the borrower can be on a work visa, non-permanent resident alien. Yes, so sorry, what the question was, we would convert them to conventional at some point. So you can either, they can assume the government entity's FHA loan. That puts them on title. You can either streamline them after the 210 days down to a lower rate, or you can then refinance them into a conventional loan. Okay, so I'm going to continue on now to how you're going to structure your home buyer for this EEP program. Okay, so there are two files. EEP requires two completely separate loan files. You're going to have your home buyer TBD file, and you're going to have your Tule River subject property file. So a few common mistakes that I want to go over, and I'm going to probably be repetitive during this training because we want to make sure that we avoid some mistakes that can either result in you having to restart a file or can cause delays. So you want to make sure for your file number 1, we also call that phase 1, that is your home buyer TBD file. You never ever enter the subject property address in this file, okay? The assignment addendum. So after your home buyer gets pre-approved by the government entity, which is Tule River, they are a Native American tribe in California. As soon as they get pre-approved by the tribe's pre-approval is essentially that they're accepting to enter into a contract, which is the homeownership agreement with your home buyer. They're just vetting them, making sure that they look like a good borrower that's going to make payments on the home and keep the home in good standing. So your home buyer will go out, find the home that they want. They will do all of the negotiations with the seller, put it under contract, put down the earnest money, and then there is an assignment addendum that then gets signed by all parties, your buyer and your seller and Tule River. You can send that to us to get the signatures from Tule River. But not having it fully executed will delay getting initial disclosures out on your file number 2. The other important thing you want to make sure is do not put any of your home buyer docs in your Tule River file. And then also just an incomplete loan setup. Not filling out your 1003 all the way. The government entities pre-processors will send that back to us if there's items missing, things of that nature. Just traditional loan application and submitting when there's items missing. Okay, so right now we're really going to focus on file number 1, the home buyer TBD file. The sole purpose of this file is to qualify the home buyer with TRIA only. So TRIA stands for Tule River Home Buyer Earned Equity Agency, okay? Do not enter a subject property address on this file. If you do, it will trigger TRID and we have to withdraw it and you have to start over. So make sure file number 1 is your home buyer TBD file. My slides are on delay today. There we go. Okay, so how to set up your first TBD file. You are going to complete your home buyer's 1003 as you would in your LOS platform, and then you will upload the 3.4 MISMO file into TPO Connect. You're going to select the EEP 30-year fixed as your program. You're going to complete the pre-approval checklist and upload the required documents. Just so you know, I will be doing a demonstration of all of this and walking you through it. So the pre-approval checklist is found in TPO Connect. I will show you where all of those documents are located here soon. The pre-approval checklist is going to contain a referral at the bottom. So you need to, this is very important that you include the pre-approval checklist, because at the bottom, well, not only does it tell us, you know, what income type you want to do, whether it's W-2, bank statements, what type of identification you're using for the home buyer, whether they're a U.S. citizen or not, you know, just things of that nature. But at the bottom is a referral for the home buyer. And we have to have this filled out because when we're uploading your file to the government entities portal, we have a hard stop for this information. So entering the referral information at the bottom is very important. The pre-approval checklist also consists of the ID, credit, income, asset, verification of rents, and then just make sure that you're uploading any cover letters or letter of explanations, okay? All of this is uploaded in the loan document section within your home buyer TBD file on the far left. So what happens after submission? So you have uploaded your LOS. You have, I'm so sorry. You've uploaded your LOS, so you've registered the file, you've selected the product, you've uploaded your documents. The file automatically will go into our TBD queue, okay? We then will have an account manager that will review and scrub your file within about 24 hours. They will send you an email of any missing documents. If not, then we can go ahead and proceed to submit it to Tule Rivers underwriters, and then you will get your conditional pre-approval from them, okay? We are bound by the government entities' turn times for underwriting. Currently, they're 48 to 72 hours, so we want to make sure that we're submitting full files so that it doesn't create any additional delays, okay? Okay, so you have your home buyer's pre-approval, okay? So the second step is they go out, they find their home. So now what you'll do is you're going to create the file number 2, which is the entity subject property file. And so you only create this file when the property is under contract and you have the assignment addendum fully executed by all parties, okay? So you do not modify your homebuyer TBD file. You've gone under contract. We've had some that will, you know, immediately hop into their homebuyer file and enter the subject property address. We've had to withdraw those files. So please do not enter the subject property address in the homebuyer file. You're going to create an entirely new file. Okay, so what goes in file number 2? When you create your 1003, we have a job entity or a job aid for the entity that goes over, you know, the 1003 from page 1 to page 4, everything that needs to be entered in and how it needs to be entered in. You will have Tule River as the buyer on this file. You will enter in the subject property, purchase price, loan terms. This is the file that we are actually going to trigger for TRID and send initial disclosures out on, okay? So when you are registering your entity file, it's essentially the same exact way that you registered your homebuyer file. So utilizing that entity job aid that I mentioned, you'll create your Tule River 1003 loan file. You will enter the subject property in this file. You will upload your 3.4 MISMO, select earned equity product, and then there's 4 documents that get uploaded to this file: the purchase contract, the fully executed assignment addendum, the lender disclosure request form, and the mortgage broker fee agreement, okay? So after you've registered this file and those 4 items are uploaded, you are going to click on Request Disclosures. The file will then move to our disclosure department, where a estimated LE will be created and emailed to you for approval. And then as soon as we get approval, they will send the initial disclosures to Tule River for e-signing, and then you will e-sign as well. The loan officer will e-sign in TPO Connect, okay? So initial disclosures on the FHA loan for Tule River subject property go to Tule River. We have some disclosures from Tule River that will go to your home buyer soon after, but that is not in this case. The disclosures for Tule River's FHA loan will go to them. All right. All right. So Tule River and the loan officer will e-sign the initial disclosures. That will give us our intent to proceed. And so then after we get the intent to proceed, the file will move over to one of our account managers who will pull the FHA case number, and then they will email you, the loan officer and their team, an email that you can now order the appraisal with some instructions, okay? The instructions on this appraisal email is important, being that you have to enter in your home buyer's email address for the appraisal link. If you do not, the email will go to Tule River and they just ignore those because they don't pay for the appraisals, okay? So making sure that you add your home buyer's email in the when you're ordering the appraisal is super important. And you go to order appraisal tab to order it. I'll show you guys where that is when I'm doing my demonstration here soon. So just a reminder for ordering the appraisal, we cannot order the appraisal until disclosures have been sent and e-signed. That gives us our intent to proceed and the FHA case number is pulled. And then making sure to add the home buyer's email address for the payment link. So our workflow essentially for the EEP loans is going to be: 1, you qualify your borrower by submitting the TBD file. You will receive your conditional approval from Tule River, send your home buyer out looking for homes. Once the property is under contract, you will then create file number 2, your entity file. And then you will request disclosures on that file. FHA case numbers pulled, you'll order the appraisal, and then essentially clear conditions as a traditional mortgage loan and get your CTCs for closing. So truly to master the EEP process is to remember that there is a 2-file structure. It's very critical. Never enter the subject property address in the homebuyer TBD file. I feel like I've said that so many times today, but trust me, I really hate sending out that email or making that call saying, look, we got to withdraw your file. Really hate doing that. So I think that's probably why I've said it a million times so far. If once you get your approval from Tule River for your home buyer and they're out searching for a home, work on getting their home buyer conditions cleared. That definitely, puts you in a position to where that when they're under contract, we're just looking at clearing property conditions. A clean home buyer TBD submission is very important. Like I said, the pre-processors over at Tule River will hold files for incompleteness. The proper entity file creation. So when I say that, what I'm specifically meaning is making sure that you enter all 6 items needed for TRID. This is the file we do want to trigger. If you miss an item or don't put a specific item in, it kind of goes into a limbo stage. So it's not quite, it's kind of in our TBD queue, but it didn't really quite make it to our initial disclosure department's queue. So making sure you enter all 6 items are very important. And then just remembering the workflow, the step by step. We want to work on phase 1 first, which is our homebuyer TBD file, go under contract, get our assignment addendum. Then we can work on phase 2, which is our Tule River subject property file, and keep the flow going that way. Few tips and tricks for a smoother closing: cover letters and a letter of explanations. If your assets, for instance, if you submit your TBD file and the bank statements do not have sufficient funds to close, and it's because the borrower is saving all their money at home, just putting a letter of explanation or a cover letter that the borrower is saving all the funds to close at home. They'll be depositing them in a few weeks, and we'll provide an updated bank statement. They're getting a gift for funds to close. The income structure, they have a regular W-2 job, but they're also bank statement because they're self-employed. They do have a business that they run on the side. Current home disposition. If they have a current home, where are they selling it? Are they keeping it? There's different guidelines if they're going to keep the home. It requires 3 months reserves. It requires lower DTIs. So traditionally we can go 50/60. If they're going to retain their home, we need those reserves, and then we also can only go 40/50. We have income calculation worksheets to help you calculate the bank statement income. It's essentially 3 months bank statements. You're going to add up all of the business related deposits, divide them by 3, and then there's a standard 45% expense factor. We do have a tiered option. So if for some reason, your home buyer is service related and they don't have very much overhead and they maybe don't even have any employees, you can get a CPA letter and we can get that expense factor all the way down to 10%. So definitely things to, ask myself, ask Norma about if, you have a scenario and the 45% is too high, or, just what we think will work. I was on the underwriting guideline committee over at the government entity. And so I really have a great idea of how to structure your files and, what the guidelines are and how to make them work. So setting the proper expectations is extremely important because your first, maybe second or third file is going to be bumpy. Lot of moving wheels. This is different. This is a different program than what anybody is used to that's been doing traditional mortgage for however long. There are 2 files, as we had discussed, that, working on 2 sets of conditions. Your Tule River subject property file is only going to have property related conditions because the tribe does not have to qualify income, credit, or asset. So that makes that file a little easier. But we're still working on conditions from the entity for the home buyer, and they have a few property conditions. Speaking of the property, we not only need the FHA appraisal that may come in subject to and needs repairs, but if your property is 1978 or older, and or the appraisal comes back with a condition that is a C4 or greater, then we need a home inspection. If we need a home inspection, we need a home warranty with roof coverage. So just remember that the government entities underwriters, they are going to review the home inspection. Typically, it's going to be only major safety issues that they'll, require to be repaired up front. There may be small items that they'll want to put on a cure agreement. Maybe they have a 3 to 6 month cure agreement. So keeping in mind that these repairs may cause delays, letting your realtors know that there's a lot of moving parts. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit unique. Some things that are traditionally not required on FHA, the entity may require. They may have an overlay, such as a pest termite inspection. They have an overlay that requires pest termite inspection in 35 states. And so, for instance, you may not be used to getting termite pest inspections on FHA loans. And in this case, you're now looking at getting those. Closings. So this is not a closed fund same day transaction. It is not ever going to happen because Tule River signers are out on a Native American reservation in California. They will sign the packages, and they're because they're Pacific Standard Time, they're behind a lot of us here in, whether we're Central or Mountain or even East Coast, but it's an hour drive for them to get out to a UPS or a FedEx drop box. And the latest pickup is 4 p.m. So they have to leave by about 2:45 Pacific Standard Time to get to the drop off in time to make it to drop off all of the packages. With that being said, if your closing docks don't make it to Tule River by, I believe their cutoff is about 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, there is absolutely no guarantee that that package is going to make it out overnight. Okay, so we have the mail out. We also have wire transfers. Your home buyer is going to receive what's called an ICCD. It's a initial consumer cost disclosure. This initial consumer cost disclosure is going to have a combination of the FHA closing costs, the Tule River closing costs for your final bottom line. Okay, Tule River closing costs consists of their first month payment, 0.5%, $12.50 underwriting processing fee, and $150 notary fee, plus your FHA closing costs. So they will get this disclosure to review, to sign, and they will wire that entire amount over to Tule River, and then Tule River will then wire the funds to close bottom line to title. They will retain their fees and the first month payment. So there's wires going all over the place. I've seen where, wires have been delayed. Making sure you get your home buyer to wire out the minute that we find out what the final bottom line number is so important. So with that being said, we don't want to have last minute everybody getting upset, realtors, on you getting upset. So setting the proper expectations is very, very important. Okay, so before I go through the demonstration, do we have any questions from everything that I've already gone over? So somebody is asking if you will get a copy of the recording. Somebody yesterday asked the same thing, and I'm looking into seeing if I can share this one. So I will let you guys know. Let me write down. Marcia, will you put your email address here in the chat so that I can send you an email and letting you know if we can share this presentation specifically. And then let me put my email down so when you guys have questions, if I can see. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do a presentation right now on how to submit your files. And then once you have your 1003s ready, you have all your documents, you have the pre-approval checklist ready. If you have, your first file, you want to reach out to me, we can jump on a quick, 10-15 minute call. You can share your screen, you can do the submission, and I will just watch and make sure that you're doing it right, give you any pointers, all that good stuff. So I'm more than happy to do that for you guys, okay? Okay, so let's pull up, give me 2 seconds here just to pull up my TPO Connect. Okay. All right. So I am sharing the main page of Trevisa's Financial TPO Connect, and you're going to have your recently accessed loans, lender key contacts, and company announcements here. This blue bar here up at the top is where you're going to see all of your action tools and your forms and checklists, okay? So the first item here is your pipeline. If you're not seeing your file on the recently accessed loans, here you can go to your pipeline and you can view all of your active loans, locks that expire in 7 days, your clear to closes, etc., etc. And one thing that I do want to point out that you're going to be seeing is you're going to be having your home buyer TBD file, then you're going to be having your earned equity subject property file. Okay. So you're going to end up having a lot of earned equity files, a lot of Tule River files. Okay. So you want to just mainly focus on the subject property address and your home buyer. When you're working conditions, you want to ensure that you're putting all home buyer conditions in this home buyer file. All property conditions go in the property subject property file. Okay. So that would be like title docs, homeowners insurance, the FHA amendatory clause, things of that nature would go in the property. Income, assets, credit, things of that nature would go into your home buyer file. Okay. So we have our e-sign section here. After we've sent out disclosures, you will have a red indicator that one of your files is ready for you to e-sign. You can either do it here or you can do it within the borrower's file, but it would be Tule River's file because that's the file that the disclosures go out on. Here's where you add a new loan. So I'm going to do that last. I will come back to that in just 1 second. Here is scenarios. So for instance, we use Encompass, and so our pricing is our pricing engine is ran by Optimal Blue, OB. Here's our program guides and matrices. We also have some amazing rates on our conventional and government programs. We also do offer DPA programs that are forgivable and repayable, 3.5% and 5%. Here's our earned equity tool. So everything that you will need to process your file is here, okay? There's a few items I'm going to specifically point out. We have our EEP matrix down here at the very bottom. We have our pre-approval checklist here. Here's our submission overview. This is going to basically be a written version of what I'm about to show you on how to submit your files. We have our entity job aid for phase 2. This is the job aid that gives you all of the information on how to fully complete and create your 1003 for the entity file. We have your assignment addendum here. So once your home buyer is going under contract, this is the assignment addendum that you will pull and you will get it signed by seller, home buyer, and then we can get it signed by Tule River for you if you need that. Approved title companies. So I want to clarify on approved title companies. It's not necessarily your escrow or your attorney that needs to be approved. It is mainly the company that is insuring the title insurance that needs to be approved. Okay. So if your company is not on this list, if the title company is not on this list specifically, then make sure you reach out to them. You can send them this list and ask them if they can use any of these companies to obtain their title insurance, their underwriter for the title. We have First American Title, Landmark, Ticor Title. We have quite a few big major title companies on here, Westcor. There are 3 title companies that absolutely we have tried and tried, but they do not like the verbiage in on our sovereign waiver of immunity that needs to be signed and completed. And I thought I muted that, sorry. Stewart, Fidelity, and Chicago Title. Those titles just will not play game with us. So those title companies are out of the question. Here is our process guides and job aids. So for instance, if you are needing to transfer an FHA case number or appraisal, our government sponsorship information is right here. And then our mortgagee is right here. Okay. Forms and checklists. This is going to be all the forms that you would need for all of our loan products. So specifically for EEP, when you are, those 4 documents that I had discussed for when you are registering the government entity subject property file, it is the initial disclosure request form and the mortgage broker fee agreement that need to be uploaded into that file. So you have your 4 items: purchase contract, assignment addendum, initial disclosure request, initial lender disclosure request form, and the mortgage broker fee agreement. Sorry, the initial closing disclosure is when you're requesting your CD. Okay, so all of those documents can be found here. So I'm going to go ahead and now upload. I'm going to walk through and show you guys how to upload your file. Okay, so you click add new loan. This is not going to pop up for you. This is just part of my test screen. So this is going to be the first thing that pops up for you. What you're going to want to do is here on the far right, you have these little pencils. You're going to want to click on that pencil to select your loan officer. Click save. Click on the bottom pencil for your processor and click save. Then click next. This is the screen that you can either drag, drop, or upload from your local drive, your 3.4 MISMO, or you can manually enter the file. I have a TBD file that I'm going to drag and drop here and click go to register loan form. So this first screen that pops up is going to have about 5 or 6 boxes that are light yellow with red asterisks. This is where you're going to select your estimated closing date. Since this is my TBD file, I'm just going to push it out a little bit. If it is your Tule River subject property file, you will want to put in the COE date. Okay. For loan documentation, EEP, you will always select full doc, even if you are using our 3-month bank statement program. You'll scroll a little bit down to the bottom. You will select the earned equity program. For borrower vesting, you can put individual. For the pre-qualification indicator, because this is a home buyer TBD that we are just sending over to Tule River to get approved, I'm going to mark yes for pre-qual. When this is your second file, your Tule River file, you will mark no. Okay. You will click register create. This is going to be items that did not automatically pop over from your MISMO. So for property type on this one, I'm just going to put, let's see, we're in a PUD. We can never waive impounds on EEP, so I'm going to mark not waived. And our minimum FICO score is 580, okay? You'll want to pull a tri-merge, but we only require 1 bureau. But you will take either, if you pull a tri-merge, you'll take the middle. If you do pull only 2 scores, you'll take the lowest. And then obviously 1 score, you got your 1 score there. Click save. And then register create again. You'll know that everything is then good to go when you get a green success box here in the right corner, and all of your home buyers information will pop up here at the top. Okay, so somebody has asked, is it a hard pull or soft pull? And can it be Equifax? So they do allow soft pulls. They do want to see that you attempted to pull all 3 bureaus though, okay? Okay, so we have our home buyer, we have him as a TBD, we have all of the information here. And so now what we want to do is we want to select the program that we want to proceed with on this file. So underneath the URLA is our product pricing and lock. We are going to select product pricing and lock. For this box, we just want to make sure that every box is completed with the red asterisk. For the AUS findings, you do not need to do anything with that on EEP because it is a manual underwrite. Over here in this section, this is going to be your comp plan. You can either do a lender paid or borrower paid, okay? I'm going to run it as borrower paid today, but I do want to let you know the mortgage broker fee agreement that you complete for phase 2, file number 2, is going to have you select borrower or lender paid at that time. Once you select one or the other, you cannot change it midway, okay? So if you disclose the file borrower paid, you have to lock it borrower paid. And same with lender. If you lock it lender paid, you have to lock lender paid. So I'm going to enter in my target rate. 8.25 is the highest rate for EEP. I'm going to, you don't have to, I suggest getting them approved at the higher rate because you can always lock lower. I'm going to click search product and pricing. The next screen that pops up is going to be your OB screen, your Optimal Blue. This is the pricing search engine. And the only thing that you really need to make sure that is filled out on this screen is going to be the county. Everything else should have automatically populated over. If it didn't, and you click submit, so my county's filled out. You also want to make sure this is FHA. It is an FHA loan that Tule River will be obtaining because they are government entity. They can obtain as many FHA non-owner occupied loans as they want. So I'm going to click submit. If there was anything else missing, the system will pop up and let you know what you needed to fill out. But so now I have my earned equity 30-year fixed program. And currently there are 3 interest rates. We are looking at expanding to having a better stack. It's going to probably go down to 6.75, and they're going to be in increments of 1/4. Okay, so that's more to come. More to come on that. So here's my 8.25 rate with my orange bar. I'm going to slide over to the right until I can see this blue box. I know it has a lock on it, but you still want to select it. This is the same way you will lock your Tule River file, but for now we want to update Encompass. If this was your Tule River file and you were ready to lock, you would instead click Request Lock. But for now, I'm going to click Update Encompass. And then the next box that pops up, you can click Close on that box. But do not select the X here. You want to let the transition go through and let the file go and move over to the TBD queue. Okay, so here I have my earned equity 30-year fixed. So this is going to be the FHA 30-year fixed loan that the Tule River government entity obtains. I'm then going to go to loan documents. Under my home buyer's name, under file submission package, I can either browse for files or drag and drop here. This is where you submit the pre-approval checklist, identification documents. Sorry, I'm just going to grab a file so that I can show you what it looks like. Identification documents, credit, income, assets, VOR, cover letters, all that good stuff. So I would drag and drop it here. Once you see this green X, it uploaded sufficiently. If it comes back as a red, you'll need to just clear it out and resubmit it, okay? At this point, everything's done. It's in our TBD queue, and your account manager will then scrub it and reach out to you. Okay. Then you'll receive your Tule River approval to where your home buyer can go searching for their home. Now, just a few points I wanted to make and show you. If this was your Tule River file and you were locking it, after you've locked it, you want to click Request COC. This will trigger the disclosure department to send out your locked LE. When you are ready to order your appraisal, it's clear down here at the bottom. And during your initial submission, after you uploaded your 4 items, you would then select Request Disclosures for your initial disclosures to go out. I definitely went out of order on those. Sorry about that. For your Tule River file, once it's gone through process and underwriting and approval, a new button will pop up that is for your closing disclosure to be requested. So that's where this will be found as well as in loan actions. Okay. Okay. Do we have any questions? No, it's okay, somebody has a question that it says, so it's not a 40-year to pick. No, the FHA loan is a 30-year fixed, and it's the homeownership agreement that's a 40-year term. Okay, so the home buyer is going to pay the entity's 30-year mortgage payment with a servicing fee that is it's about 0.5% of the purchase price. So on a $300,000 loan, it's $125. And then the homeownership agreement is a 40-year agreement. So I go over that in detail in my next training at 11:30 Mountain Standard Time. No. So on the TBD file, you do not pick a 40-year for the DTI. You're going to still pick the 30-year for the DTI. And I'm actually going to go over a form that we have that helps break down all of the costs, including the payment. You're welcome. So I want to show you this closing cost estimator worksheet. Is a really, really valuable tool so that you have something in writing to break down for your home buyer. It is called our Homeowner Closing Cost Estimator Workbook. It gives you an example here, but I'm going to go through and fill it out for you step by step, just so that there's a better understanding on how to complete it. So you'll want to double click on one of the boxes to open the editable Excel format. So I'm going to go ahead and go with a $400,000 purchase price today. My appraised value is $400,000. And then we're going to go with the 7.25% rate. So here in section 1 is where you can show your home buyer the breakdown of the FHA loan. Okay. It goes into everything blue automatically fills in. So this is automatically set at a 3.5% down payment structured loan. Section 2 is going to give you the calculating the monthly payments so you can show the breakdown for your clients. So for the annual property taxes, let's just say $2,400. And then the homeowners will just say $1,200. There's no flood insurance. So these annual amounts here have been broken down to monthly payment here in 2.3. If there is an HOA due, you will just manually enter that monthly amount here. Let's just say it has a small little $30. And then here is on section 2.5 is that servicing fee that I had mentioned from TRIA. So if I ever say TRIA, that's Tule River's name fully spelled out in an acronym. So TRIA has a servicing fee of that 0.5% of the purchase price divided by 12. So for this $400,000 loan, it's $166. This servicing fee, they send out monthly mortgage statements to your home buyers every month so they can see their balance going down. They handle their escrows. They will send out a mortgage interest statement at the end of the year, so they do get a write off their taxes. They're there for them if they need anything, if they're having any issues with the utilities or anything of that nature, they can call this servicing department. And then this section 3 is the summary of the FHA loan fees. So for this section, 3.2 is where you would then enter in the closing costs on page 2 of the CD. So if you're trying to prepare this before you have the CD or even before you have our LE, you can always put in the, closing costs in your LOS system to get a really good idea. Our underwriting fee is $12.95 and that's all we charge. So you'll also want to add in the MIP, the financed MIP amount here because it's given as a credit. So let's just say that the closing costs are 3 points plus the MI. So that would be 12, that would be 18,755. Okay, so that's our total closing costs on this file. Now we're getting a credit. We're going to get a credit for the MIP. And then here's our down payment. So for earnest money deposit, let's just say that they put $2,000 down. And then seller concessions, let's say that we were able to get them to pay, we still have to meet MRI. Minimum required investment. So the MRI is the 3.5% down minus earnest money. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to do the calculations and see how much seller credit I want to have them bring in. So I've got my 14,000 minimum down payment, and then I have $2,000 earnest money. So I kind of want this bottom line to be around 12,000 because I want to max out my seller credit. Seller concessions cannot go towards the homeownership agreement fees, okay? So please keep that in mind. When you're working with seller concessions, they can only go towards the FHA loan fees because these homeownership agreement fees are not included on the CD. And so per HUD FHA guidelines, seller concessions can only be reflected on the CD, okay? So I know that I've got a POC for the appraisal that they paid up front. I'm gonna enter that in here. So I'm gonna take 23,000 minus 12,000. So I'm gonna see if the seller can contribute around, what is that, 11,300? 11,300 in closing costs, okay? So all my home buyer needs to bring in to, for the FHA loan is MRI, okay? So then section 4 is our homeownership agreement fees. The entity charges an underwriting processing fee of $12.50. They have a 0.5% homeownership agreement fee. They have to bring in the first month payment, and then they have a notary fee of $150. So the subtotal on that is $68.52, and this does include their first month's payment, okay? Now, this and this can both be gifted. All right. So this total amount right here can then be gifted. There isn't any disclosure or document that within their guidelines that say who the gift can or cannot come from. So just keep in mind that all entity fees and MRI can be gifted. Okay. Yeah, so somebody's saying in the beginning of the estimate, we normally just have the LE. So yeah, you can manually add up the LE, all of the fees. Make sure that you're including the financed MIP because they do get a credit for it right here. But yeah, you can just manually add up our Trevisa underwriting fee is $12.95. So essentially all you're really adding up is underwriting fee if you have a processing or a third-party processing fee, prepaids, title fees, any HOA fees, and then you could even maybe add a 1.5 discount point if you want to buy down the rate. Okay, so that's how this form works, and this is an explanation on all of the fees involved. Again, we have to meet MRI on the FHA side of the loan. They are bringing in their first month payment to closing, which does make this amount a little bit higher. I heard that they might be getting rid of that in the future. Not 100% sure. They were talking about it when I worked over there, but it still hasn't happened. And then all of these fees they can receive a gift. Okay? Okay. Oh, and also when verifying funds to close, they only need to verify MRI. They can do a letter of explanation for the rest of the fees. So they can basically, if their bank account only shows their MRI, they can provide a letter of explanation if all the rest of the fees are at home that they've been saving up. Just a letter of explanation for where those are coming from. All right. So we can now go into Q&A, see if any of you guys have any questions. I know that was a lot of information. If you guys think of anything and want to shoot me an email, my email is mmanaya@trevisafinancial.com. You can also email Norma. She's your account executive. I think her email is nsummers@trevisafinancial.com, 1M. But if nobody has any questions, then I want to thank you guys for joining us today. And again, please reach out if you need anything. We're definitely here for you, okay? Okay, thank you guys. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.